Today Ananda wanted to do something special, so Ananda would announce what he's going to do.
Thank you, Venerable Bhante. The speciality is that there are some wonderful short video clips that initially the idea was that it will be screened afterwards. But I thought, having seen the very short clips yesterday and previous day, in fact, it's a teary thing to see those young monks, samaneras, that very short thing. I thought it is better to put these 3 videos in front. So it will take about 15 minutes. And also, unfortunately, there are about 18 very long questions. So it took over an hour to read them, just over an hour just to read it. So it took longer. Without going too much, we'll have the 3 clips first, and then I will check with Venerable Maha Thero whether we can take some of those questions which we can't take up tonight, tomorrow. If not, probably next retreat or maybe next lifetime, as Maha Thero said, that be reborn. Probably in 7 years, at next Satipasala, we can all get our answers. Let's watch the video.
Of sharing mindfulness with Sri Lankan school children. This program highlights the value of mindfulness practice. Satipasala is a program that was initiated in March 2016 with the aim of sharing mindfulness with Sri Lankan school children. This program highlights the value of mindfulness practice and its benefits on students, teachers, and the entire school community. The architect of this program is a senior Theravada Bhikkhu, Venerable Uda Iriyagama Dhammajiva Maha Thero. He is the abbot and chief meditation master of Nissarana Vanaya, a respected forest monastery in Sri Lanka. Venerable Dhammajiva, himself an ardent practitioner of mindfulness meditation for the past 30 years, had become convinced of the numerous benefits of mindfulness since many years before he entered monkhood. In the initial phase of Satipasala, 43 schools registered voluntarily. The students of these schools were introduced to mindfulness through simple instructional essays in Sinhala, Tamil, and English, which were included in the book Satipasala. The teachers and students of these 43 schools had discussed the essays, and after a few weeks, 15 schools invited mindfulness facilitators to visit the schools and to conduct mindfulness programs. The students were instructed on sitting mindfully, walking mindfully, and on how to be mindful in day-to-day activities. After a few months, using simple feedback forms, we received responses from 232 students and 63 teachers. When analyzing these responses, we found that the majority of students and teachers felt more composed during and after the practice. They experienced less irritation and anxiety. They were able to focus better at academic activity. They managed emotions better and had improved relationship with peers. They recommended that we continue these programs and in addition suggested that we introduce mindfulness to other schools. Although the practice of introducing mindfulness to students is new to Sri Lanka, it has been practiced for many years in several countries, notably the UK, the United States of America, Canada, Australia are a few such examples. Scientific literature published in peer-reviewed journals regularly highlight the benefits of mindfulness. In addition to the most well-known benefits such as the positive impact on mental health and emotional well-being, today it is proven that mindfulness has a significant role to play in a variety of conditions affecting several systems of the body. During 2017, Satipasala will move into a new area of expansion and improved outreach. In collaboration with the Ministry of Education, teachers in national schools will be introduced to mindfulness. In batches of 60, the teachers from the Western Province National Schools will join the new Teacher Educators program from January. Satipasala is based on secular principles and it is devoid of ethnic or religious discrimination. It is managed by a team of volunteers, all of whom have been practicing mindfulness for many years. And Satipasala has an advisory committee consisting of academics, professionals, and experienced mindfulness practitioners of all denominations. Satipasala is a program that was initiated in March 2016 with the aim of sharing mindfulness with Sri Lankan school children. Mindfulness is known to have a wide range of benefits among students in relation to improved focus, better academic performance, and enabling healthy relationships with peers. Initially, Satipasala targeted schools that volunteered through the enthusiasm of principals and teachers and certain provincial education authorities. As the months went by, these mindfulness programs captured the imagination of many, and schools from several parts of the country requested programs for introducing mindfulness to children. Gradually, the mindfulness movement among Sri Lankan schools began to gather momentum. During school visits, mindfulness facilitators introduced mindfulness to groups of students and teachers using simple methods which were illustrated by practical sessions. Walking mindfully and sitting mindfully were demonstrated by the facilitators. And similarly, students were taught how to be mindful during games and extracurricular activity, as well as during day-to-day activities with families. Lively question and answer sessions often followed, and these ended with requests for continuation of mindfulness programs in those schools visited. In December 2016, Satipasala was presented to the Minister of Education, who felt that there was potential for expansion of the program to reach many schools in the country. In January 2017, with the patronage of the Ministry of Education, the Satipasala Teacher Educators program began. Commencing with 52 national schools teachers in the Western Province, mindfulness was introduced to batches of teachers from all the national schools in several provinces, such as Uva, Sabaragamuwa, and Central Province. These national schools have already been exposed to mindfulness. In September 2017, it is planned to introduce Satipasala to the national schools in the 5 districts in the Northern Province, such as Jaffna, Mullaitivu, Kilinochchi, Mana, and Vanaya. This will be with the assistance of the education authorities in the Northern Province. With its growing popularity and expanding outreach, Satipasala assumed a formal status through the creation of the Satipasala Foundation a few months ago. The founder and spiritual leader of this new legal entity, Satipasala Foundation, is Venerable Udayiriyagama Dhammajiva Maha Thero, himself an ardent mindfulness practitioner of nearly 3 decades. As a senior Theravada bhikkhu and abbot of a respected monastery in Mitirigala, who teaches mindfulness meditation with rigor, the Maha Thero gives directions and guidance to the gradual expansion of the Satipasala Foundation's network. Promoting the main benefits of mindfulness as a potent preventive measure for stress, anxiety, anger, and discontent, mindfulness is now gaining popularity in a non-sectarian manner across all groups of people such as university students, prisons, police personnel, and the corporate sector. In addition, the value of mindfulness for emotional well-being, tolerance, better understanding between people and communities are also emphasized. Mindfulness as a tool for self-understanding, for self-awareness in many areas, including preventive aspects of certain types of health care and environmental climate-related issues, are also promoted. As a special component of the Satipasala Foundation work, mindfulness is recommended for dispute resolution, for improving ethnic harmony and religious tolerance, all of which address some of the common and critical problems we face in Sri Lanka. In this connection, an influential group of clergy and others from all denominations have joined hands with the Satipasala Foundation. In February 2018, the Satipasala Foundation will be hosting the first Global Mindfulness Summit in Colombo, where many renowned dignitaries and mindfulness teachers are due to attend. With time, it is expected that the mindfulness movement in Sri Lanka will grow and that it will transcend boundaries and forge relationships with all communities in Sri Lanka, as well as with its neighbors and the rest of the global community.
Mindfulness with vigor. The
Global Mindfulness Summit will bring together a multifaceted group of spiritual leaders and mindfulness teachers in an unprecedented event due to be held in February 2018. The rich galaxy of resource persons are drawn from monastics and The Global Mindfulness Summit will bring together a multifaceted group of spiritual leaders and mindfulness teachers in an unprecedented event due to be held in February 2018. The rich galaxy of resource persons are drawn from monastics and clergy of various religious faiths, mindfulness teachers and meditation practitioners, scientists and academics, diplomats and government leaders from several countries. They will gather in Colombo from the 23rd to the 25th of February to share their experiences, philosophies and ideas connected to a subject that has taken the world by storm, mindfulness. Hosted by the Satipasala Foundation, this unique event is the first such occasion where a mix of spirituality based on the Buddha's original teachings on mindfulness 26 centuries ago will be blended with the more recent scientific applications of mindfulness as popularized in the West. In planting the seeds of mindfulness as a preventive tool to address current global societal issues, the summit will focus on a spectrum of topics ranging from the brain and mind transformation through mindfulness, to preventing climate and environmental crises, to preventing violence against children, to issues connected to governance and diplomacy, and many others. Several summit sessions will be devoted to guided mindfulness meditation conducted by senior mindfulness meditation teachers, to demonstrations connecting yoga to mindfulness, and children from the famous Sri Lankan mindfulness program Satipasala will guide and instruct delegates in mindful walking. During a packed 3-day itinerary, this fascinating meeting of minds on mindfulness, the Satipasala Foundation is joined by several partners. All these institutions promote mindfulness within their own institutions and are contributing significantly to the advancement of the practice, devoid of religious and ethnic consideration across all sectors. Transcending boundaries and embracing diversity, the Global Mindfulness Summit is ready to chalk a milestone in history. It will be an unprecedented example demonstrating the value of this ancient practice of mindfulness, which eventually will pave the way to understanding oneself through a deep and explorative search from within. The summit venue is located in a lush green area of central Colombo at the Sri Lanka Foundation Institute, a premier institution recognized for academic and governance-related matters. Registration for all 3 days are enabled through the website globalmindfulnesssummit.org, and seating will be on a first-come, first-served basis. We look forward to meeting all of you at the GMS 2018 in February.
Now we may start with the written questions.
Thank you, Venerable Bhante. And the first question, dear Venerable Bhante, posture walking, primary object, sensitiveness in feet. Question, I find when walking at a normal pace, like in regular walking, I cannot get into a rhythm. I find calming to the mind. But at this pace, the feet are not moving slow enough to catch more detailed sensations in feet. When I try walking slower, I can observe more detail, but find my body and thus mind tenses up with the effect to walk unnaturally slow. Is it necessary in order to refine mindfulness to walk slowly to have more subtle sensations to notice? Or can one still be able to refine mindfulness while walking at a faster pace, as long as one is able to keep the mind linked to the feet, sensations in a sustained, continuous manner, even if they are not detailed? Thank you very much for your teachings throughout the retreat.
Yeah, that mindfulness knows the pace. As far as you continue the mindfulness, start with the very rough, gross, and ultimately go detail and refine. Don't try to manipulate as far as mindfulness is continuous. So later, the time will mature where you can see more detail. So just let the mindfulness to run the show.
Thank you, Bhante. Dear Bhante, my posture is walking. My primary object of meditation is touch of feet with ground. In a good session, I feel the sensation of each feet lifting, moving forward, heat or the coolness, and the roughness of the ground. Apart from these, I also feel the jerky movements of the body as if a skeleton is walking. The speed of the walking becomes slower a bit with time. Now the walking has become much smoother and I don't feel the jerky movements of the whole body. This is somewhat like if someone has put lubricant, and I can walk with less energy. The speed of walking is the same speed I started walking. Within brackets, it doesn't get slower with time. I still can feel the heat, coldness and the roughness of the ground. There are thoughts and sound, and sometimes I get carried away by the thoughts for a few seconds, but immediately come back to sensation of the feet. This has been happening every time I do walking meditation from yesterday. Sometimes even if I am walking from place to place, if my attention goes to the sensation of feet, I can feel this. My questions are, there are 3 questions. Should I go back to the watching jerky movements? Is this mind-made state? Please clarify.
So that whatever it is presented, you have to see, don't go choose, don't we have this must come first, this must come down, no, this is good, this is bad, this is a must, this is not a must. So don't put any value judgment, just see the scenario, and it knows whenever you give the mindfulness to advance, ultimately what happens is everything becomes effortless. So that's a very good sign. Mindfulness is going to take the situation at the situation is under mindfulness helm, and mindfulness know how you're driving. I would say you are learning how to put into autopiloting mode, and these are the early signs. So don't interfere, don't expect anything, just let that to continue.
The second question, Bhante. Before coming to the retreat, after a good sitting meditation session, I went out for a walk in the park. I felt like I was separated from the rest of the world. All the other people, the trees and everything seemed to be in a very far away place. I could hardly hear the children playing and screaming. I wasn't doing any walking meditation while walking. I am not sure what happens then. Please explain.
So it is the mindfulness that you have gathered in the sitting is still in the reducing and dwindling it off. So therefore whatever you do, whether may be walking or whatever may be, the harmonized situation, the harmony will come into being, and things are happening. They are not distracting you, rather not inflicting you. Things are there, you can just continue.
Third question, Venerable Bhante. I don't have the facility to do walking meditation at home, not enough space indoor or outdoor. Is it safe to do walking meditation while walking in the roadside pavements? Much metta.
Yeah, that is the way you have to improvise it. Many places that I select for meditation, I have to reject the place because no space for walking meditation. And whenever there is a walking meditation, it gets the priority. So I tend to say, please offer lands. Then in the next Perth you will get enough space. Not in a cage like a battery system chicken.
Thank you, Bhante. Dear Bhante, my posture is sitting. My primary object of meditation is in and out breath. In a good session, when the breath settles, I normally notice that the in-breath is a series of little in-breaths instead of one continuous in-breath. The out-breath is also the same, but it is more prominent in the in-breath. When the breath settles completely, I am aware of the underlying peace. But today, after I noticed that in-breath was a series of tiny in-breaths, I saw the gap between out-breath and the in-breath. I focused more to the gap, and it became more prominent at times. I was aware of the silence and peace at the same time. After some time, I could not identify the in-breath and out-breath separately. I still tried to note the gap. Then after a short time, the in-breath, out-breath and gap, everything appeared like a series of pulses, within brackets kampana. There were no differentiating signs for in-breath, out-breath or gap. It was a bit strange feeling, but could note for a while. Slowly everything became unnoticeable and there was no sign of a breath or pulse. There was only the familiar peace and silence left. Could you please explain? Much metta.
The final stage explained is called the flux. It's going there. This happens when the object becomes so close, so immediate, so mindful, and the mind and the object is moving in a same pulse, same speed, same momentum. So then you see through the object. So the best example I found that what Pandita Sayadaw gives in his talks, in the dusk or in the dawn, when you are walking, if you see a line of ants, far away at a distance you may see it as a rope, or like a snake, or like a stick. So you may get a completely wrong idea, it is something permanently there. But if you are radical enough to go closer, you see some movements, and halfway. And when you go there, there's no stick, there's no rope, there's no snake, but ant by ant, the creatures are moving. And in between, so much of gaps. And within the ant, so much of all the 6 legs are working. But at a distance, it appears like a dead thing. When you go closer and closer, it becomes more and more vivid, lively, and you can see 2-3 observations and 3 conclusions. That depends how much you are proximate to the object. When you go closer, each and every object, not only the difference between the in-breath and out-breath disappear, not only the in-breath, out-breath and the gap disappears, any object you put into the electron microscope, they are electron, proton and nucleus. No femaleness, no maleness. They do not know whether you are gas or it's a liquid or solid. So once you get a little distance, it appears like different shapes, different colors, different sex, and so much of storytelling. So more you go closer, you can see through the matter is less than 5%. The total space is there. But at a distance you never see the space, you see completely solid figure. So this is the insight when you go deeper and deeper. So well written. The experience is well written. So therefore keep this reporting system till you become enlightened. So others also will follow suit.
The next question, Venerable Bhante. Venerable Sir, posture sitting, my object of meditation, Anapanasati, in-out breathing. I am rewriting my question which was read yesterday as I had not worded it correctly. It was not clear to you. The question was based on the Dhamma talk on the 4th of January, 4th talk. The Dhamma talk goes as follows. When someone sits down to meditate, sitting meditation within brackets, after a while the 6 animals, i.e. 6 sense bases, settle down and the yogi will wonder, is this samatha, is this vipassana, arupajana, etc. When the yogi experiences a sense of boredom, as per your talk, this stage is what I refer to as the place, in capital letters, the place. In my initial question, I have gone into this place many times in the past and wondered if it was an arupajana. In this retreat, I sat for longer periods and found that I was going down slowly into a place which was still and silent. The 6 animals appeared to be asleep, though the mind occasionally stirred. This experience sounded like the black hole that Eckhart Tolle described. However, there was no darkness, black. I did not fall into a hole as he did. However, I felt I was being pulled down slowly and going downwards gently. Question: how do I interpret this experience? Is this a form of sunyata? If not, can you please explain what it could be? Is it significant? Thank you.
No, this is the level, this is the state, this is the threshold that your communication lost, your language lost, your grammar lost. Up to a certain extent, as far as the linearity is concerned, you can explain it. But when you go closer and closer, your explainability disappears because the boundary disappears, because yourself disappears, because your egocentric center is disappeared. So then, is it a problem for the communication or telepathic communication starts? So beyond that, the true Dhamma come into being, while the person is trying to explain, the other person can understand if he is advanced than the practitioner. So this is happening through telepathic system. To put into theoretical way, in the solid way, in the Pottapada Sutta, the Buddha explained 3 healthy egos, 3 reference points. At the beginning, the Buddha is taking the idea from the Chittahatta Sariputta, one of the discussion part of the discussion. He says the body, that is to call Olarika Attapatilava, this gross body, 3-dimensional body, is the starting point. So if you manage to keep the mind within the body, that means 6 animals are fairly tamed, sleep. And then when you keep on observing, your attention will go into the still tiny object like the in-breath and out-breath, or the touching sensation, or rising and falling. Then manomaya attapatilabha come into being. You can be with that particular object absorbed, even the body is not there, but you get the negative of the body. Sabbanga pachanga samannagi. Your photo is here and the negative of the photo. The positive developed thing is very representative and carry, but the negative you can see. The body is there, but you are concerned only one tiny part of the body to represent. And when that happens, if you are a lover of your body, or if you are developing panic and kind of thing, you may give up the meditation and say that because your body become just transparent like. And this is why the Buddha is telling that now you are in the Manomaya Attapatilabha. So to go to Manomaya Attapatilabha, you have to forego Olarika Attapatilabha, the gross body. Now instead you get the Manomaya Attapatilabha. And when the object becomes subtle and subtle, the Manomaya Attapatilabha becomes Sanyamaya Attapatilabha. That is, everything is nothing but a perception. Whether it's a concept or reality, no boundary. And when that it comes to the Sanyamaya, your language show its weakness. Your grammar show its weakness. You find it is very difficult, and when and where you go to the Sanyamaya, Attapatilabha, you can't imagine the body shape, even the transparent shape. You find me and not me. There is no boundary. If you say I exist, yes, exist. If you say I am not, you are not. So when that happens, it's an utter threatening to your egocentric idea. And whenever you hear, when you feel, smell, touch, again the egocentric point will be reappointed or re-assimilated. And whenever this dissolves, not only the object is dissolving, your sakkaya ditthi, the egocentrism, center disappears. Conceit, the measuring me and not me, disappears. Everything is equal, so nothing to get the lion's share, nothing to get the better half. Everything is there. So that when that happens, you find the world is manopubbangama, manosetta, manomaya. Mind is the forerunner. Manopubbanga, manosetta, mind is the important thing, and everything is mind-made. But whenever you come to the Sanyamaya state to the Manomaya, you see, no, it is not merely mind-made. You can have the shape and color, but when you go to the Olarikattapattilaba, you can hit the other person. It becomes so solid, it becomes so plastic. So all these three are recognized as healthy ego models. To give up the sensuous pleasure and the sexual pleasure, you have to believe the body. That's all Arikattapattilava. That's why we come here and sit. That's why we come here and do walking meditation. Whenever the mind is confined to the sitting and walking or whatever the posture, that means you give up. You are no more dealing with the sense pleasure or sexual or sensuous world or other luxuries. You find kind of a equilibrium. And when it is absorbed into the breath or rising and falling or your sitting posture or right leg and left leg, then you find that even the body also automatically happening. You can just be with the object, and the object and the mind is rotating in exactly the same way. So they are not only the sensuous pleasure, even the bodily three-dimensional figure also sacrificing. And then when that particular object also, what you absorb also disappearing, everything becomes just a sign, just a perception, just a sign you put to cognizing to recognize, recognizing. So very nicely, the Chittahatha Sariputta is presenting, and he says a very provoking, very catalytic kind of statement. Bhante, as far as you are with the Olarikattapattilava, you are completely free of sensuous pleasure and sexual pleasure. You can't have both. It's exclusively different. Whenever you are from the Olarikattapattilava to Sanya Manomayattapattilava, you can't deal with your body, you have to sacrifice it. And they are exclusively different. And whenever you go from the Manomayattapattilava to Sanyamayattapattilava, you can't think about this. Moment you think, you collapse, you become inferior and go to that. So when you see, you find each individual have 4 shadows, the sexual life or sensual life, and to be with the body, and to be with the just notion of the body, and be with the perception. So if you do not know these 4, this thing, one thing replaced by the other one, that is replaced by another one, that is replaced by the other one. So slowly, gross thing will be replaced by the subtle, and going there, you find that what a kind of potential, what a kind of possibilities are there. As far as we live our whole life with sexual and sensual things, you are deprived of the higher states, because it is so lucrative, it is so attractive. So what a kind of against the grain acceptance and practice and understanding. You can't get rid of this sexual and sensuous pleasure unless otherwise you go into the body. You can't give it up unless otherwise you go into the manomaya, the astral body. That's the way the present day they are putting it. And you can't give it up unless otherwise you understand it is nothing but a concept. It is nothing but a sanya, perception. So when it happens, you see the mind can take a board of any of the status. And there you are mastering your life. You are mastering your mind. And all the 4 states are there even in the non-meditator's mind. This is the only separation of them or delimitation of them and discretion of them. So the discretion needs clarity. Otherwise, when you put everything together, you can't put, because whereas the gross thing is there, they can't dwell, they can't exist. So what a nice game here. So we have 18 questions.
Yes. Thank you, Bhante. But though there are 18, it's a great, wonderful explanation. Thank you. Dear Venerable Dhammajiva, My questions are related to yesterday's Q&A. 1. Out of compassion, could you kindly please instruct me on how to recondition the mind not to be an accountant or a business economist, target oriented in the practice? Because although theoretically I know that craving is always moving towards the opposite direction, I can't seem to help keep swinging the pendulum. It is the very reason for the diligent effort being put in, the strong desire of not wanting to be reborn, to be out of samsara, to be enlightened. That's the first question. This is from Venerable
just mere by wish, you can't end the samsara. The Buddha says, "Nakopanetam bhikkhave iccheo pattabbam." You have to do it. You have to earn the merits. You have to earn the skill. Otherwise, just by mere desire, you can't do. And the economists, I have done 1 year course in the agriculture. This is the term economies of scale. So once in a way, you have to reshuffle the company. Otherwise, you can't keep on earn the profit. At a time, your labor, capital, investment, everything become limited. Then you have to reshuffle it, and then it can go for the larger scale. Likewise, you can be an economist and reshuffle it, rather than giving up this economic career. But that I took enough time to see in Vipassana, the reshuffling happen automatically. That was nothing to sit the board and bring and write papers and kind of thing. When you keep on mindful, it is reshaping and reshuffling. I call it evolution. That evolution is taking place. So whatever the job you are doing, whatever the way of life you are doing, is mindfulness, the Vipassana is so powerful, nothing can block you. So you have to believe mindfulness, you have to believe this Vipassana, and ultimately that, just like tightrope walking, you can go there. Don't think there should have a specific basic qualification for this. Wherever you may be, it is time to start. And therefore the Zen master says, if not now, when? If not here, where? If not you, who? I put it in Sinhala, දැන් නොවේ නම් කවද්ද යකෝ, මෙතන නොවේ නම් කොහෙද යකෝ, තෝ නොවේ නම් කවුද යකෝ කරන්නේ. ඉතින් මට බයිනවා මම දර වචන කතා කරනවායි කියලා මට ඒකට ඉංග්‍රීසියෙන් දාන්න බැරි කියලා මම කනගාටුයි.
That's great. Thank you, Venerable Bhante. Second question is, what are the different definitions of sati according to Bodhipakya Dhamma, and where could I look for the reference? Mahanumodana Bhante for your precious teaching. Katanyu Katavedi Namaskara, Venerable Ajita.
So you are the person to give the definition. Don't copy others. That's the place you fail the exam. You give what is the meaning of the bare attention. And you give the meaning, what is the meaning of be mindful on the body. And what is the definition of the mindfulness when you are dealing with the pain. So write your autobiography. And that will be a world classic. I will assure you. As far as you are believing someone, you are inferior. So that is not done. That is not the way the Buddha is telling. So when you are practicing, see the first time when you understand mindfulness, it's a bare attention, how was it, what it is. And when the second beautiful thing is, when you try to explain someone, then only your thing will become well galvanized. In Satipasala, back in Sri Lanka, the facilitators and the trainers are becoming so galvanized, so mastery, so engaged. They find now only Bhante we are learning mindfulness when we are teaching the young children. We have to completely go back, be up to that level. And when we are teaching, the gain, the experience you gain, two people will talk in the conference, how much I gain by teaching mindfulness to the Satipasana. So you are your author. Please take a piece of paper, write it, and tomorrow definitely you will redefine it. And next day again you will define. That's the way you can see you are evolving. Because everything you written down is dead and gone. And you will by heart and try to live up to that. That is the way you become stereotyped. That's because you become bogged down. So instead write your opinion, write your definition and see, definitely you will refine it. That's the way it is happening. So when you are reading 15,000 odd suttas, you can see how many similes, how many ways the Buddha tried to share with us. And hardly any coincidence, because it is different status, different layers, so people find it is not explaining, not standardizing. You can't standardize because 8, 9, basically 8 available in Bodhipakkhya Dhamma, 37 factors of enlightenment. They are different one after the other. The example if I have to give is, the Buddha explained the reptilians, they shed off their worn out skin. And once that is gone, inner skin comes. And that will worn out and another one can. Likewise, there is a sutta in the Sutta Nipada, the worn out skin. So your definition tomorrow invalid. You will rediscover. And tomorrow that will be invalid for the next moment. So likewise, let that be evolution or metamorphosis rather than adhere to the one particular definition after, of course, meditating 5-6 days.
Thank you, Venerable Bhante. Venerable Bhante, before writing about my experience, I would like to thank you for your excellent instructions on meditation and the Dhamma talks. I have benefited immensely forever over the last few years. The impression until last night was that the retreat was proceeding well and the mind peaceful. However, last night, as soon as the head hit the pillow, a cascade of thoughts started flowing. There was no apparent reason for this. They were all related to perceived hurts felt by me as a result of actions of those close to me. These had occurred several years ago, and I had assumed that I had forgotten them. This resulted in a restless night and then anxiety on getting out of bed. This means as to how the day was going to be wasted. A lot of mindful effort went into the walking meditation to calm the mind. During the first sitting meditation of the day, after a few minutes there was awareness of the stream of consciousness being affected by my thoughts. Then the realization occurred that I, within inverted commas, had been clinging to these thoughts. Once I let them go, my mind went into a very contented, clean, vast space. I had no body sensation, and there was the feeling that this sitting could go on for a very long time without any physical or mental discomfort. My question is, has the catharsis occurred, or is it likely to recur? If so, what measures should be used? Theruvan Saranai.
So definitely it will happen again and again. I am so happy when you are suffering. That is the indication you are going to go for a new insight knowledges. Mahasi Sayadaw, Venerable Pandita Sayadaw says, in the meditation, whatever the difficulty comes, at the end of the difficulty, there's a huge new insight waiting. But if you halfway stop, sorry, you have paid the cost but no results. So that is what the Putujana life is. You are always trying, and nearing the peak, you come back. And there's one very nice simile. There was an old man, about 60, And he went to the physician and told that I am becoming weak. And the physician told better to have a walk, maybe 1,500 meters or something like that. Luckily he got a playground close by. So he used to walk. And after a while he didn't get much of a result. So one day when he go to the other end, he felt I can't go. So he came back on the same way back. And thought I can only walk half now. But of course he can come to the other side, then you are circling the whole cycle. But he is discouraged, go to the other end and come back on the same way and tell you, I am weak. So this is the Putujjana life. This is the commoner's life. Whenever you already paid, then you utterly suffered. Wait to see the other side. In Sinhala we call Kandak Nagitana Pallamaki, Pallami no Sellamaki. So you nearing the peak, you come back again. Because you are love to your body. Because of your love to your soul. And you are almost at the peaks. You are about to surmount. So that little bit of energy to go. And therefore whenever you are suffering, whenever you have a pain, there's a blessing in disguise. There's a silver line in this dark cloud. So not each and every pain, so whenever it is unbearable, you give up, no problem. But the day you understand this principle, what will be your attitude towards your children? Will you give facilities for the children? Or let them have their own challenges, just like scouting, just like all the other things. So your generation is so weak, so answerable for the present day weaknesses of the children. But parents are giving so much of facilities and protection, and they never get enough exercises or enough high protein meal, so to say, regard the physical this thing. So let them have their this thing, but for that you must have your stamina, you must have your vitality to face the situation. So in simply speaking, the pain or disappointment or boredom or monotony happen in the meditation is a sign of a progress or blessing in disguise. The day you can express in a cherishing way, in a gladness, in a rapture, you will be the most rhetoric person on the earth. Because you people are always finding excuses and trying to escape the pain and difficulty, so much so you come to the common folk. The moment you try to see the catalytic effect of this disaster, but still not to give up and go, this is what we have to teach, we have to tell the people. So this is a very good example. You have to suffer. So tonight also you may you go through the agony. I'll be saying sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Dear Venerable Bhante, my posture is sitting. My primary object is in and out breath. In a good session, I experience the in and out breath as a breeze in my nose. I pay attention to the breeze moving out and I watch the gap and then I notice when the breeze returns. My concern is that I am noticing when I am very tired with small amount of sleep. As it is not normal for me to wake up at 4 a.m., I notice my body feels very relaxed and so I can meditate better. The paradox is, if I am too sleepy, this can mean also that I find it hard to concentrate. My question, number 1, do you recommend for people to always get up just before the sun when we return to our normal lives?
Oh, if possible, yes. There are a lot of sayings in colloquial way. If you are waiting till the sunrise, that means you are a lazy guy. The early morning session, whatever you do in your job, in your task, is so refreshing. Pinipita yami, That is the singular. If you do farming, go to the field when there's a dew on the grass. And that is the way you get the... And the Buddha used to get up and walk during this time about 10-15 kilometers and go to the next village. He wished to go for alms rounds and walk, and no tiring. And then day's work is finished and he get the path of the alms rounds and have it and then rest. That means walking, sitting, meditation. And when the dusk happens, he take rest and early next morning. So this is the way Venerable Sariputta is telling. Diva ratti sanya, ratti diva sanya. When the people are busy, just take a rest. When the people are sleepy, take the opportunity, then everywhere is a meditation center. In the night, the world is like a cemetery. Because people eat at the night and play and have all the games and they sleep with snoring till tomorrow morning, they never get up. If you wish to practice, this is the time. So you must know how to make use this opportunity, get the Rati Sanya, the night notion, when the people are busy. And when the people are sleeping, let the babies to sleep, you go and do your walking and sitting meditation, so then you can make use this opportunity. So it will happen. You are in a transitional period. When time to happen, I simply put into the one phrase, you may follow your body knowledge.
Second question, Bhante. Do you have some advice for how to integrate mindfulness into our everyday lives when we go home from retreat? Is it a good idea to have a day or two of quiet days when we return home, not to go straight in lots of rushing and busy time? Thank you.
So if you are lucky, yes. But we are not so lucky. Because we have disturbed others, the calm people in the past, so that we get the return. Don't disturb other psychologies. Don't fork fingers into the other world. So let the sleeping tigers to sleep. So then that is the greatest art. Otherwise, when you disturb them, definitely they in return they will disturb. Just like our Kapya. Kapya is always disturbing. Because you are disturbing Kapya. So you have to pay. So therefore, even if you have any demand, even if you have any complaint, don't utter anything, just wait. So Kapya will be embarrassed. So this is the way. So when you go home, there is no hard and fast formula. You have to understand what you reap, what you gain is what you, you reap what you sow. So don't try to put the blame to the other party. Just try to find something in between, how to maintain it. I will assure, as time passes, there may be always things are for your advantage. But when it is in the transitional period, don't rush. Just go in the medium pace.
Thank you, Bhante. Dear Venerable Bhante, sitting and walking meditations are working well. Some sessions concentration is strong and mindfulness is more acute than others. From listening to your talks and answers to Q&A, this is the understanding gathered. 1. Mindfulness is the key factor. 2. Effort is to keep the attention on the body as often as possible in daily happenings. 3. Keep observing body sensations and check what is happening in the mind as often as possible. As one great teacher said, let nature play its own role, just observe. 4. The understanding will come. Just keep practicing. Have faith. Is this a good way to look at the meditation practice? Thank you, Bhante.
4, you can rephrase it. There's an email, I can't find it in my inbox. He says, switch off your phone and go and sit, then you can get the SMS and missed calls from your body. And from the nature. So as far as you are with the telephone, you will never listen to your body. You are never listening to the nature. So put it off and go and just don't do anything. Just be. Then you can see beep beep, one SMS. And again another missed call. So you can see you have to go to the toilet. You are not doing it. You are a little thirsty. Drink little. You completely suppress everything. I may be wrong. This is the civilization. This is the civilization. You have no time to take care about your body. You have no time to listen to the nature. So much so you feel you are interested in others' benefits and all kind of nonsense. You have to take care about this body. No one would take. So therefore, switch off the telephone, go and sit and listen to your this thing, and you find that it's such a friend and a friendly thing, and try it best to support you, but you are doing worst thing to the body. You are torturing it. You are burning it. Because you are not associating it. And you are not listening to the nature. So when it happens, the meditation is just an aesthetic thing. It's a kind of an art. Then formulas and all regimentation and science. But of course that happens in the latter part of your meditation. At the beginning, of course, you do regimentation and kind of thing. But as an answer to the fourth, this thing, I would like to rephrase it according to this email message.
Most Venerable Bhante, 2 parts. 1, I have been meditating for about 2 years. Started with Venerable Bhante's retreat in Adelaide in January 2016. What I find in general, including this retreat, is that I can maintain my mindfulness better when the primary object is tactile sensation of my feet on the floor. My mind wanders considerably during sitting meditation when the primary object is in and out breath. My question is it better for me to focus on walking meditation only or much more than sitting? Is it better to focus on both types and to improve mindfulness through both types?
Yeah, the mindfulness is the main thing. Then the posture, some postures are more conducive, some are not there. So whenever time permits, you have to understand why the other posture is not so conducive, why this is conducive and productive. So these things also must in your task list. So start with whatever the possible. It says in the commentary to the Visuddhimagga, the path of purification, yatha pakatang vipassana biniveso pacha anupahattantenive upayena upattapetta sammasitabhang. Whenever you try to meditate, start with the accessible point, easy point. When and where the mindfulness gain, you try to cover the totality, but not at the beginning. You must try to find the soft end to start with.
The second part is, when you understand the 32 body parts, you can get a sense of the repulsive nature of the body. How can one maintain self-compassion or compassion on the body despite this knowledge?
No, compassion not go to the particle or the 32 parts, you take that as an entity, then only you can do a compassion. So whenever you consider as an entity, you have to feed the body, you have to wash it, you have to do all the kind of thing. And then 32 part will be healthy. So therefore, 32 part business and the compassion happening in 2 dimensions. 32 part is the reductionism, compassion is total system approach.
The question ends with much appreciation for Bhante's spiritual guidance. Number 10, 8 to go, 9 to go with this. Dear Venerable Bhante, may I ask a question about the point you made in your Dhamma talk, that if one loses one's mindfulness on the primary object, say sensation in feet while walking, because one's attention is diverted to visual object, run through the eye, there is no defilement involved in that redirection of attention. But what if the example changes to a thought known at the mind door, especially if it is a thought bound up with greed, hatred or delusion? Would there still be no defilement in this case? How can one tell the difference between the thought that has volition and one that doesn't? Can you give an example of an angry thought that does not conform to volition? An angry thought that does not come from volition. If it does not come from volition, what does it come from? That is the first one.
It's called asampajana mano sankhara, asampajana mano sanchetana, mano sanskara. Sankhara is what you do, of course, volitional and willful. But if you very carefully try to stop anything doing, but still you find there is a magazine is running with the library shots. You are not writing new articles. You are writing with the old article from the library shots. From where does it come? Is it for your well-being? These are what we call habits. These are what we call our likings and dislikings. They are highly ingrained. So therefore, whenever you stop putting new things, all your habits and others are going to happen. So therefore, anger or whatever may be, even if you have, for example, the anger with a particular person, there may be some kind of a relationships. And so whenever you stop making willful, volitional anger, but there's a kind of antagonism happens. You can't understand it. So you have to leave room, asampajana mano sankhara, asampajana vachi sankhara, asampajana kaya sankhara. This body has this habituation. So whenever time happens, it works without command. And very difficult to understand, they are the dust under the carpet. So whatever the sweeping you do on the carpet, the under the carpet is there. So once that is finished, when you remove it, you see very fine dusts are there. So that particular person is innocent. But even then, some volitional, the past habitual thing happens. So when it happens, so it is appear like he is mad, or something that's mystic, or something like another ghost taken possession and doing like. So this very clearly happen in the sleeps, in the nights, in the dreams. So many things happen. Are you responsible for the morality of your dreams? It's a big question. But later you may understand there is a relationship. Whenever your input stops in the sleep, the mind starts working with its old habits. So therefore, when you study the completely, you see each and every person is innocent. Each and every person is innocent, but this acquired habits or cultural upbringing make all the frustration, all the tension, but it's very superficial. But that is the way, that's a thing you could first see. But when you go deep, you have no such intention, but it happens. So when you understand that kind of tendencies within you, then only you can sympathize the other person. He also carried away by this kind of tendencies. In Buddhist Theravada traditions, is the past karma, in the last life maybe, some early part of it maybe. Now, whenever it comes to the maturity, you have kind of a schizophrenic, kind of different personalities immediately come back and goes. So this type of thing can happen. So you have to go prepared. You have to understand this life is such a complex thing. Samsara is such a complex thing. Very difficult to put in the same formula or find a formula explaining everything. But deep meditation, not that you can't study, you can study. But it's very, very deep. You have to do transgressional kind of defilements, obsessional kind of defilements. Then only you can go into these underlying tendencies or the dispositions. They are nothing but it's a perversion. So learning that is kind of a deep kind of a catharsis. These kind of things are happening. So you must be geared, your mind, getting rid of this gross kind of defilements fairly we are satisfactory, but whenever the opportunity happen, let them to happen and understand, there's no mystics as such. It is the way it is working. So share it with others and sympathize oneself, then you find this humanity itself is good. But even though you are innocent, there are some tendencies are working. So make room for them without rushing to a decision, judgment.
The second part of the question, Bhante. In the original example of attention changing from the feet to the visual object, can the change of focus in one's attention be done mindfully? So if the eye happens to see something involuntarily, it is considered mindless, but if one consciously chooses to look at something, it is a mindful shift of focus. Thank you very much for your clarification.
Still there are some explanations. One thing I would like to remind, better that is to remind towards the end of the retreat, the Buddha says, Satadipateya sabbe dhamma, whether you know or not, every time you are mindful. Only thing is you are not appreciating. Anything happen under the light of mindfulness, even shifting from the leg to the eye, it's a cause and effect relationship is there. Satadipateya sabbe dhamma. But we never give the priority to the mindfulness. We never give the helm to the mindfulness, so we think it is something mystic, or it is something mistake of the other person, or mistake of myself, or that kind of thing. So whenever you come to the culmination of your practice, you understand you are born mindful. Mindfulness is nothing to introduce. It's only a matter of protection. Whenever you protect mindfulness, you are protected. So therefore, commentators, they say, Phassa Vedana Sanya Chetana Manasikara as the 5 concomitants: contact, feeling, Phassa Vedana, Chetana, Sanya, Manasikara. But Venerable Sariputta put it is Sanya, Chetana, Vedana, Phassa, Manasikara. Before you contact, your volitional activities take in the forerun. Whether you know or not, it is something decided. Very difficult to grasp. From the leg to the eye, it appears like it is without any prior notice is jumping. But before jumping from the leg, you have visual objects, sounds, smells, taste, and other tactile sensation. The selection out of these 5 or thinking, it is according to a personality trait. It happens. It appears like it is something happening, but you go deep into that, it's already predestined. So therefore it says, what you are looking at, your life is life like looking at a already done DVD, uneditable. It's already destined. It goes to the one extreme, I know it, but that is what it happens. So leave the room. So even though you are volitionally not doing it, tendencies are there to do there. So Sanya, Chetana, Vedana, Phassa, Manasikara. The Sanya, the labeling is So filtering every signal and take the natural selection. The GIST selection is something happen, it's a run before the contact, and then select and hook up with the what is more sensual and more sexual. So when this happens, you see that even you are innocent and even if you are honest, you have to pay past habits. So don't claim that I am a Samaritan, I am a wholehearted, I am a pure. No, it cannot, because the past tendencies are selecting out of the variety, the selection of visual object, something like predestined. It is not completely explaining, but it indicates how Venerable Sariputta is explaining. Nama Dhamma is before the passa, before the contact, things are happening.
Dear Venerable Bhante, if there is no self to begin with, why does it matter for us to meditate to lose the self or the I? Thanks and with much gratitude.
So if there is no self, don't meditate. No problem. So that's why we must not invite anyone to meditate. It's very dangerous. If someone is in trouble and kind of thing, come and do, we will try our share everything. So that's why the Buddha says, don't ask people to come to the Buddhism, come to the meditation, because if they are living in a happy life, let them have. There is no self, no. So self thing is of course assimilated and artificial thing, and intellectually you can say no self. But look into your day-to-day activities in mental, physical and verbal, how much you are in trouble with respect to the tension and frustration. Who is the sufferer? Who is the person in tension? Who is the person in the frustration? So if you have no frustration and tension, not necessary to meditate.
Dear Venerable Bhante, my question is on Dhamma. I initially complete a task, but later realized that the way I have completed it will harm another person. Will I get bad karma if I do not fix it, despite not intending to hurt someone initially? There are 3 parts. That was the first one.
If you have done, and halfway if you realize, best thing is to go to that particular person and apologize, telling, and that is, if that particular person is living, you are lucky. Otherwise, it will come back to your life, and that regret and the remorse sets in. So don't hesitate. If you have wronged someone, please go and ask, even the young, even the elder, never mind. Till this something happened, I never did, or I did. So if anything happened, please. That is why at the end of thing, Okāsa vandāmi bhante, maya katam puññam sāminānu hoitabba. That is why we share and forgive and forget our things. Then it will give a kind of a relief. So therefore, do not hesitate if the person is living.
Number 2, someone confronts me with a plan for a risky activity, and I knowingly, without encouraging or warning this person, change the subject. The person might continue on with their plan in a way that is unaffected by me. Does this result in me earning bad karma as I do not warn this person?
That some people say, according to the German law, if you see a mistake and if you are not correcting, you are at fault. But in the Roman law, it is not so. You can't prove it. So therefore, Apannaka Patipada is non-coercive, non-reaction, not going against anything. So he is coming and telling me, shall we go and for hunting? So I would say, I have to go to the toilet. He said that animal is running, so please come and please hold me. He says, yes, sometimes I may come, but I'm sorry, I have to go to the toilet. Like. So these are the white lies and tactics. You are not rejecting, you are not antagonizing it, but you must know the art, non-coercive way. It's called Apannaka Patipada. Apannaka means that non-decisive, Aviruddha Patipada. Don't antagonize anything. He has his own rights. Of course, he may come and ask opinion, but I am not a judge. He has to first give me the post of the judge post, then only I can decide. Otherwise, you have to assume you as the judge. So one day I heard in the Bible, when Jesus Christ is walking, the youngest son of a family came and told, "Oh, son of the God, you see, my father told the property must be equally distributed among these things, but my big brother came and grabbed everything, and I am in suffering. Please come and take a decision." Then Jesus says, "Who appointed me as a judge? You appoint me as a judge because you want to have your share." So you have to understand why people are coming chasing behind us. So we are not judges, we are in the same boat. So we assume as judges, when you become parent, you think you have the responsibility and your judgment of the parents, children. When you become a teacher, you take it, think, now it's my responsibility about the disciples. When you become the king, you think you have the responsibility. This is called vested interest. Not me, Bertrand Russell. You vested interest in that children, no, I am the father. Don't do it. That's one party, that's partial. You do it. Are you? So this vested interest party is a very deep thing. It is not only the ethical, not only the social, but in the mindfulness, non-judgmental, equally suspended attention, and the choiceless awareness. The awareness without the choice is not inferior. Choice is not always for the awareness. Be aware that particular person comes with that kind of a agenda. So who are you to give opinions? He may appoint you for his benefit. You must understand, ultimately you are the person get committed, you have to suffer. So how to, I would say, in Sri Lanka, කොස්කපන්ඩ ඉස්සලා අතේ බෝල්තල් ටිකක් ගාගෙන ඉන්නේ කියලා. Before handling some sticky thing, apply little grease beforehand, then easy to remove the sticky thing. So mindfulness is like a sineha. Sineha means a lubricant. That's why it works in the metta way also. So you never rush to a decision. It is okay, you can explain what can I do, but on wait I have to go to the toilet, okay. So therefore this call of the nature is very, very beneficial and very, very, you can use at your will.
Number 3, Bhante. I accidentally wrong a person who is upset, but concludes that another is the culprit. If I do not correct this view on the situation, do I earn bad karma, despite him or her jumping to the conclusion? If I do not correct this person's view on the situation, do I earn bad karma, despite him or her jumping to the conclusion?
So you have to make sure you are in the correct view, despite correcting of the other's view. So I put it into be mindful and mind your own business. So we are taking this business and that business before we correcting our own views. And we are trying to give correct view, talks to the others, and ultimately you are messing up further and further, unless otherwise you correct yourself, broaden your view, the less and less narrow the view, you get more commitment. Broader the view, you are always with the lubricant in your hand. You know how to palm it off and not to get committed. And if you are to do, you must be circumstantial. You must, not the circumstance, you must find the proper opportunity to tell. Not otherwise. Otherwise you are wasting time, wasting valuable Dhamma, valuable things. So therefore you must understand the precious way and talk it in a constructive way or in the good opportunity. Kalam manyati. The Buddha says, even then I talk when the time is mature, not always.
Dear Venerable Bhante, 2 questions. Is mindfulness, sati and consciousness vijnana is same or different? If different, please explain.
The vijnana is the ocean, sati is a wave in the ocean.
Number 2, is the mind just a slave, within brackets mad monkey running around unrestrained by the master, which is consciousness? Please comment.
Please repeat the question.
Is the mind just a slave, within bracket mad monkey, running around unrestrained by the master, which is consciousness?
So mind is the consciousness, that is the problem. So very difficult to put that into a sentence. Mind is the what basically you recognize as the consciousness. Who is the master, who is the slave? It is very camouflaging.
Dear Venerable Bhante, again this one I read a couple of times. This is seeking advice on profession, but I will read. But my posture is working. My primary object is the sensations in my hands. In a good working session, I experience the sensations in my hands as warm, slightly tingly, and depth of pressure varying. In addition, in a good session, I feel here and now that only the sensations in my hands exist. My concern is that since last night's question and answers, when you answered the massage therapist question, which was mine, I am wondering, did you think my work as, number 1, I am wondering, 1, did you think my work as a massage therapist is not good for me, or will it hinder my awakening? Should the primary object always be within my own body and secondary objects also?
No, whether you are a professional massaging person or whatever thing, the fingers are the tentacles. So whenever you handle something, whether it is a living thing or non-living thing or sick person or anything, if you are concerned about the tactile sense, it is under your very nose, here and now. And that is your path of awakening. Whether the person is getting healed or not, that may be a secondary issue, which is a professional. But if you find that you are become more and more sensitive to your tactile sensation, and that become very lucid and vivid, that's a very clear indication the mindfulness is progressing. So always keep the mindfulness intact. So there the healing power also will be increasing. And you are reading, just like a braille reading, you can just by touch, you can see the reflections, which is the tension. Where is the tension, where is not. So therefore in Korea, I heard, South Korea, the reflexology massaging is only valid, only allowed for blind people. It's a profession. So they touch the palms and soles, and he can read by the lightness or the softness of the spots. This point is healthy, this point is not. And he can give the massage because he's so sensitive. So likewise that each and every part of the body represents every part of the other part. So by touching, if you develop that skill, you can say whether that muscle is in the tension or not. That is not reading the muscle, but contact, you get it. So if that kind of sensitivity is increasing, if that kind of lucidity increasing, you may understand your professional also you will progress I mean, the benefits also will be increasing. Your amplification of the signals also ever increasing. That's a good sign of mindfulness.
This is important for me to know, because after I leave retreat tomorrow, most of my daytime hours are spent massaging people. My experience is that this work assists me to extremely mindful because of my attention. Because if my attention wanders, then the client can feel pain. So I must be vigilant the entire time if possible. By the way, I am a woman massaging mostly women and often men too. I didn't understand what you said when you mentioned Freud. I feel very confident and safe around touching people in my work and do not experience desire or lust. Thank you, Bhante.
Yeah, that is in Thailand, when you go there, in front of each and every very famous temples, there's a huge, big massaging parlors. And they go to the temple and in front, always there. And females are being massaged by the males and males from the females. So that sometimes goes into some other the sexual kind of provocation, and that can happen. Not that everyone is in this category, you can fall into that, but you have to keep vigilance, not let the feelings to carry you for a ride. You have to understand this is what I am doing, and as far as you can have that restraint about your senses, you can, still you can. But thing is, if you are not restrained, if you are not mindful, the sensitivity, the touch sensation is a very, very provocative thing before the sexual intercourse. It says, Dassana, Savana, Samullepana, Sansagga. First you see and you hear and then touch. It's very intimate, specifically to the intercourse. So the Buddha says, if you have that kind of a tendency, don't look at this. Don't listen to it. Nothing to say, don't touch it. So one day, Venerable Ananda asked, Ananda appeared to be a very attractive person to the females, then asked Bhante, what must be my attitude to the female? Buddha said, don't look at it. But if you happen to look at it, don't smile. And then he says, happen to look at and smile, don't go for wild laughing and kind of thing. But if it happen to do, don't talk. So it's the way the Buddha is giving experience, it says you have to be very appropriate. So it is the reciprocal way, the male to the female, female to the male. And I can recommend one book, one sutta in Anguttara Nikaya Sattaka Nipata, book of 7. In Pali it says Sangyoga Viyoga Pariyaya Sutta. It says the Buddha how the males are maintaining male characteristic and females are maintaining their female characteristic, so much so they have opposite attraction. And if the opposite attraction going to give the pleasure, there is no way out. The whole community of humanity is run by this, the sexual this thing. So Sigmund Freud tried to mention everything can be explained through the lust or sex. The Buddha mentioned not the sexuality but sensuality, the pleasure principle. So therefore, if you have your guard, it's okay. But difficult to recommend at large, because this can do some perversions can happen. So be mindful all the time when you are doing. If the mindfulness is going to give very sensitive, amplified this thing, take care about the progress of the mindfulness.
Venerable Bhante, when discussing the faculties, Saddha, Virya, Sati, Samadhi, Panya, Venerable Bhante mentioned that one has to develop them equally. They have to be balanced. I have learned that the sequence of these things are important in Dhamma. I would be most grateful if Venerable Bhante could explain the importance of the sequence here. Are they generally developed in this order or all together?
So individually you have to grow as well as you have to see the harmony. You have to see the equilibrium of them. The first jhana means the all 5 aspects in the 5 direction and come into the same direction. Then you can pierce through the object. When, as far as they are diversified, you can't pierce through the object. So when it happens, Indriya Samatta Patipadanata, or it is Indriya Ekarasata, or everything, everyone, every faculty is doing the same thing. So this is what we call that flow without a turbulent. Flow is very disciplined, everything happening without much of a cross currents. So it's a very harmonious thing. There's no way to do it, but you have to be not only earning, you have to see the balancing of the same thing, and the balancing is an art. Whenever they come into the proper balance, dash through. Otherwise, they are fighting each other.
Venerable Bhante mentioned 17 exists to Nibbana during one of the Q&A sessions. I would be most grateful if Venerable Bhante could explain this again, with much appreciation for Venerable Bhante's spiritual guidance.
It is 7 jhanas, access, concentration, and the concentration is 16. Just before the first jhana, when you are preparing, of course that is the access concentration, that means it must be reduced to 16, and each jhana and access concentration at the absorb concentration, each jhana multiplied by 2, it will become 16. They are all exits for vipassana.
Dear Bhante, my posture is lying down and sitting meditation. My primary object is the breath and the body as a whole, with the colors I see in the forehead. When lying down in a good session, when I listen to Dhamma talks from Jack Cornfield's retreats, podcasts, I often listen to his beautiful stories and weep. It's always about kindness. I accept my weeping and think I understand it, but maybe do not need to just know it's not clear. It is something of my meditation. It's a result of my meditation. When sitting in a good session, I often see deep blue circles with white dots and a black outline surrounding the deep blue. It pulsates and moves closer and further away from my forehead or in front of it. These times are very calm and nice. Here at the retreat I saw some white lights and felt very blissful. I enjoy being a seer, seeing life and living mindfully. Lately I have preferred that to sitting. If I feel I get the same benefit going out and enjoying moments, I wonder if I should still sit quietly or just go out and live and enjoy moments mindfully. With gratitude.
The essay starts that my primary object is the breath and the sitting posture. So towards the latter part it says, am I to go into this light perception and to take this as a, within bracket commas, primary object. So it's a shift within the essay, shift in your primary object. So as far as you are taking the primary object, the breath or the body, things can happen, weeping can happen, light can happen, everything is a distraction. You must understand it, but you must know the way, return back to your primary object, your pivotal point or reference point, so much so they are not inflicting anything. Moment you leave the primary object and take, specifically camouflaged by the desire, then the danger is there. So take the mindfulness as the main thing and be aware of the secondary thing can happen. On the way, don't suppress them, but don't overindulge them. Whenever such a danger is there, come back to the primary object to reinstall your faith.
One before the last. 17th. Dear Bhante, thank you so much for these talks. Very lucky. My posture is mindful living, relationships, communication. My primary object is being mindful, calm, relaxed, aware in conversation with loved ones and others, aware of my body and breath during conversations and deeply listening. In a good session, I am calm and communicate easily and skillfully from the heart with compassion. My question is, I heard you mention something briefly that if someone faces or suffers from depression or other mental health concerns, then will mindfulness help? How can one be most supportive to a loved one in this situation? Does mindfulness practice help in terms of introducing them to what we know here? I actually do not know much about depression and how the mind may differ or suffer. I am getting to know someone that is suffering greatly from time to time, and I wish to be kind, compassionate, and of service to them and others, and thought this life skill with sharing mindfulness practice could be a way to do that. Would love to your thoughts, please. Taking on board the preventative note. Much metta and gratitude.
The starting point and the end point is not connected. And whatever may be, that very famous thing is mindfulness-based stress reduction program, mindfulness-based cognitive therapy. They are standard things. So you can get that professional proficiency over the internet, and before going to helping others, just be aware of it and how to use it. Otherwise, out of compassion, if you go, mindfulness is disappear. The compassion may come, but the thing will not happen. So therefore, these are things develop, and it is at your fingertip. Just take time to study them, please.
This is some kind of advice to the management of the retreat. Dear Venerable Bhante, as this is the last Q&A session, I have a big favor to ask of you. On behalf of a few retreatants who are worn out after slaving away in the kitchen over daily breakfast banquets, I hope you will respond with great compassion. The need to direct management to keep breakfast simple and easy to prepare and not an indulgence for all of us, including monks and nuns, as the appropriate action to take for retreats in the future. This direction to management needs to come from the top to be heeded, and that means you, Venerable Bhante. Thank you for your compassion. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
If the foods are very tasty, I am little lenient to them.
I am also in the same group. I am also in the same group, Bhante.
You can't help because that...
We started off with management saying absolutely simple breakfast. We are not keeping complicated, we are having simple things. But I don't know, it took on a life of its own, and every day it got more complicated. And I've removed myself and let things take their course. Fantastic.
Because they are lucky enough, they have good, maybe they have good enough past merits, so that people feel like giving good things.
I accept that. There are few people who have to wash and clean, and on that grounds I said from the very beginning, simple breakfasts. And I drew up a menu, and on that, I don't know what happened. I'm not complaining.
back in the Nissarana, there are also the never-ending problem regarding food, never-ending problem regarding the helpers and health. So luckily when the food problem happened, they never consult monks. Which is none of the monks' business. So we go on Pindapata, whatever happens, we eat it. And so management committee, they are always asking our opinion. We say it's better to eat anything rather than getting involved in this food science. It's endless. Sabbe satta aharathitika. Each and every person, living being, depend on food. So therefore, one simplicity is for other person is luxury. And one's luxury is other person is just simple. So therefore, when I come to Australia, when I go to other countries, like anything new for me. So I am just asking the English name for that, because when I go back home, I can tell at least I eat that. So everything, but I like equally what is happening, what is available in Nissarana also. Mind you, as far as you are living in the samsara, you will never find an answer.
Isn't eating too much hindrance to your concentration and things?
Pardon me?
If you eat too much,
should we get the mic?
Does it make you feel sleepy and lethargic rather than...
So you will become, how to say,
Getting fat?
No.
obese.
Obesity.
Obese.
Doesn't it affect your mind also?
Sure, if the body is affected, mind is yes. So therefore, understand the proper amount of meal. No one is sufficient. It's a quality of Buddha. Out of the 15, Buddha has 5. Pasalos Charana Dharma, 5, the Charana Dhamma, that means behavioral. One is the amount of food he knows properly. All the others are lifelong experiment. In reflexology massage, this is to understand you to what is conducive for you and not. At least you must be above 35 years of age. At the 30 to 40, only your maturity comes to understand this is good, this is bad, this is conducive and not. But even then, if it is your reflexology, you know, and you must have your compassion to your body, and you must have responsibilities. But today, as I mentioned, that food is the same reason. Some people die because lack of food. Other people die because of obesity. And therefore, Professor Lily De Silva, in Sri Lanka, back in Sri Lanka in the Perth University, was the professor. She was the professor in Pali. She says, diveng siya divi nasagani. Committing suicide through your tongue. It's a vast subject. Very difficult for the management itself to do, but management is the only tool we have. So therefore, that I, being a monk, I am so lucky.
Shall we open to questions for 5-10 minutes?
Yeah.
We are. It is 9:25. So could we go on 10 minutes more?
As the audience.
Yeah. If the audience is willing, we could go, for being the last day, for 10 or 15 minutes. I think this is a rare opportunity. Those who wish to go may do so. No disrespect. And but if there are any questions, we are happy to take. There is a hand going up already.
Most Venerable Bhante, I want to ask this question about reducing what you call hite kata karana gatiyo vitakka vichara. So is it, I have heard that if you keep on thinking about, qualities of Buddha or Buddhaguna, or at least recite Itipiso Gatha, that is one way of reducing vitakka vichara. So my question is, in doing that, am I going against the practice of mindfulness, or is it better as a, as an initial mechanism?
The mindfulness, according to the if I am to quote Visuddhimagga, the path of purification, Buddhanussati, that is mindfulness on the virtues of the Buddha. Devatanussati, the mindfulness on the virtues of the celestial being. Dhammanussati, mindfulness of the virtues of the Dhamma, Sangha. So anything can be mindful. But if you take the primary object as Anapana, that's called Anapanasati. So if you are an Anapanasati person, going to the Buddhanussati may be a changing of the track. Whatever may be, noting and labeling is what you call the vitakka vichara, or access the applied thought and the discursive thoughts. So note what is your primary object, whatever it may be. More and more you note, the distance reduce and wandering thoughts will be less, and the nearing of the object may happen. So you have to select what is the best for you, what is the primary object, the best for you.
Just another quick clarification. So I have started this practice where I recite Itipiso a few times when I sit down for meditation, even when I walk, just to calm my mind initially, and then to start then to basically change the primary object to the feet, the tactile sensation on the feet, or the in and out breath. Is that a good way to...
Yeah, that is the way. If you do walking meditation and if it is calming down, do little walking meditation and go and sit. If you find loving kindness is calming down, and let that, have a few minutes for that and make use this opportunity, and with this calm mind you can go to the primary, Buddhanussati, whatever it may be. These are preliminary actions, like warming up of your mind.
Thank you so much.
I haven't written or asked any questions this time, Bhante, but I have a question rising out of question. But can I ask the question, please? Venerable Bhante, you mentioned answering the question, 3 types of bodies, Olarika Atta, Manomaya Atta and Sanya Atta. When you said Olarika Atta, were you referring to the whole body?
Yeah.
Or in the...
it is the Buddha explained, made out of 4 dhatu, and which is eating solid food. That is called Olarikatta Patilabha.
It is not any of the Kayagata Sutta talks about the 32 parts and the 4 dhatus.
But they are integrated parts.
Integrated parts, so think of the whole body.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bhante.
Bhante, excuse me asking again the same question because I couldn't really get the answer last time. If one is practicing mindfulness kind of totally, and at the death consciousness, the last chitta, invariably that practice should come to the rescue of that person. Is that right?
Yeah, if you read the Sotanuddhata Sutta, the Buddha mentions Sutta, Datta, Parijita, Manasanupekita, Ditthya, Suppatividya. There's a few qualities of the mindfulness, just hearing and just remembering. Parijita means practicing. Sutta, Datta, Parijita, Manasanupekita, you retest it again and again. And Ditthya, Suppatividya, you are sure. If it is so, whatever the calamity, whatever the distraction in the death, you will never go to the dither world, and you go with the higher realm, and after a while you will remember what in the deathbed I was utterly distracted, utterly chaotic, but how that come to the better place, then you can remember, I was meditating in the last life, therefore even at that moment you are not steady, mindfulness take the help.
Thank you, Bhante. If someone is Sotapanna, and at that death moment, that kind of level of Sotapanna, that chitta should come? Or?
That?
I have heard that if someone is a Sotapanna or anantariya papa karma or something like that. Those chittas will be very powerful at the deathbed. So irrespective of that meditation object, one of these will come.
But what do you mean by one of these?
Like if someone is a sotapanna, that will be surfacing.
That will be?
Surfacing as the last chitta.
So you are telling or you are asking?
I'm asking.
Yeah, that is what the scripture says. Whatever may be your most familiar object will appear. Just like when you, before the opening the cattle yard, whatever the animal in front of the gate will be pushed off. So that is the asanna kamma. So if you are familiarizing again and again with the bodily, this thing or sotapanna, whatever may be, that may be default.
Thank you, Bhante.
That in Hari.
May I ask a further clarification from your answer about the question about thoughts?
Question about?
About thinking and intentional thinking versus unintentional. And you said that an example of unintentional is like in a dream, there's no new input. But in waking life, I was trying to imagine examples of anyone ever having intentionally trying to have an angry thought. Mostly it's just unintentional. It doesn't seem like you would sit there thinking, okay, let me think an angry thought. It just happens. So then how do you distinguish what is coming from previous habit is just some sort of unconscious expression of habit, and when it's a new input? So I was wondering if you could clarify that. Thank you.
I heard a story, I don't know, and one day father has killed his own son. No one can understand how that can happen, because they were very loving each other, but everything went very, very bad and kind of thing. And later, they went for soothsayer or someone to read the past life or something like that. You know what is happening back in Sri Lanka. Then they have told they were the son and the father became father and the son in the previous life, and then the son was under the heavy depression of the father's repression, and he developed so much of anger. Next life also they became son and the father, and he go and kill, but there is no obvious reason. So it is because embedded in the past, and it happened. Just like in the hypnotism you can give a suggestion, and once you wake up you do it. In the hypnotic trance you give a suggestion, and then after getting up he can't do away with performing it. Something like that kind of a streaming can take place. This usually we consider as a mystic things, but it is explained in Nettipakarana, asampajana mano sankhara. Without intention, your mind tendencies, your habituation pushing you.
So in terms of our own practicing with trying to observe our thoughts, how can one distinguish? For instance, if you just happen to see something and you react immediately with either greed or hatred, is that something that is just coming from previous habit, or is that something that one can have to take karmic, responsibility for?
Yeah, that is why whenever there is a range of things, visual, sounds, taste, smell, which one you select is suppressing every other thing. So that is called the selection. That selection is automatically, or it is happening involuntarily or voluntary. At a given time, your eyes are open, visual objects are there. Ear is open, the sound is there. Nose is there, smell is there. Tongue is there, smell. So, but mind can take only one thing at a time. That selection is called the gist. That when you are meditating, you can understand. So it is happening, unless otherwise you are mindful, you don't know that chance event. So when Jnanaponika says selecting one means rejecting many, who takes this decision? Just natural selection. So it's very difficult to give a concrete answer. That selection is something premeditated. You are naturally pulled into that.
The selection may be premeditated, but then what about the reaction once the object is selected?
Due to the reaction only, due to the liking and disliking only, you select what is giving the most provocative liking or disliking is the one you select naturally. If you are not a meditator, if you are not mindful, you select most dramatic thing. You grab hold before the other person go there and you hold it. So that's why it says unmindful mind is the worst enemy for you. Because it's always selecting the sexual thing and the sensual thing. When you are mindful only, you find that 6 animals are there. They are waiting to take the upper hand, and then you feel, what a slave am I? There are no agenda is running. So that is why people are not meditating. When you go to the meditation, it's almost like committing suicide. You see the weakness. So therefore, you can understand even 1% or even 0.1% of the population never meditate because they do not wish to see the things as they are. And even when you are seeing, when you are observing with the theoretical knowledge and rational, you see how difficult to swallow it, how difficult to take it up. Whatever the plan you do in the early morning, see at the end of the day, something happened completely unthought of. Because our mind is running in such a way, very difficult to keep the track and very difficult to keep the bookkeeping. If you start to bookkeep, then you can see the picture and you can see how much it is the premeditated things are happening, how much you can restrain them, how much the pivotal value is helping in this game for your benefit. So if you have no pivotal value, if you have no the neutral object, if you have no indifference object, mind is always rushing to the highest pleasure principle.
Thank you, Bhante.
Bhante, I'm sorry to ask you this again, but you explained that Olarika Mano and Sanya, but can you just go through that a bit slowly because it was a bit fast and I couldn't absorb everything you said.
You have to just explain the situation, please, your question.
That question that he just now asked, and you explained about, on the fourth day you gave the fourth talk where you said that the mind goes into a very boring stage, and then about the question you explained, Bhante?
The question I asked was basically only about the Olarika Atta,
yes.
But whether it is the part of the body, breath, or the dhatus, or whether the whole body as a whole, Bhante clarified and said that it refers to the whole body. That's correct, Bhante?
No,
but then after that, Bhante explained that question. I couldn't get the whole gist of it. You know, the question on the black hole.
Oh, that is her question, I think, maybe.
So may I take the question again?
Yes, please. Bhante, if that's okay with you.
No, but the others has to excuse. Now 9:40.
Exactly, that's the thing.
So we are going now overtime. You have to pay a higher rate for me. So best thing is you have to get the recording and study slowly.
It will be available, the
Yeah.
recording after.
So soon it will be in there, so take time. Otherwise we have to take everyone's time. Yeah.
seeing that there are no more questions, we may finish it here. And
Sorry, may I ask a quick question? Bhante, is there a connection between dreams and what happens in this life, like when you're awake? The reason I'm asking this question is like there are times I have dreamt of something and down the track that has actually happened. Like I might see an unknown person in a dream and some connection has happened down the track. So is there some connection with karmic, previous lives or something?
Yeah, very difficult. It says, I am now reading a book on dreams by Sigmund Freud. So he says, there is no hard and fast rule. Some party says yes, some party say no. So it is very difficult to say a black and white answer. The Buddha mentioned 4 reasons for the dreams to happen. Your frequent association and agitation of your 4 elements, and sometimes the celestial beings come and give some future happenings. 4 things, but there is no such a understanding or any idea about for Sigmund Freud. He starts right from the beginning, and so this one, what the Buddha explained is all the dreams, whatever the dreams happen, there are 4 reasons, and some of them are future predictions.
Right. Thank you very much.
Okay, now taken for 13 minutes, you have to pay overtime. And we are going to sum up the question and answer session. So we will be sharing merit with all the seen and unseen beings. The translation of this, the formula is into Ramani, Ananda, not Ananda, others. So please get a printout tomorrow and distribute among the Pali stanza and the translation we have done before for this purpose. Today we will just go ahead with Pali. Ittavata chagamme hi sambhatang punya sampadang sabbe deva anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Ittavata chagamme hi sambhatang punya sampadang sabbe bhuta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Ittavata chagamme hi sambhatang punya sampadang anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Akasattha ca bummattha divanaga mahiddhika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakkantu sasanang. Akasattha ca bummattha divanaga mahiddhika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakkantu desanang. Akasattha ca bummattha devanaga mahiddhika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakkantu mang parang. Idang vo ñātīnaṃ hotu sukhitā hontu ñātayo. Idang vo ñātīnaṃ hotu sukhitā hontu ñātayo. Idang vo ñātīnaṃ hotu sukhitā hontu ñātayo. Imina punya kammena māmi bāla samāgamo satang samāgamo hotu yāva nibbāna pattiyā. Imina punya kammena māmi bāla samāgamo satang samāgamo hotu yāva nibbāna pattiyā. Imina punya kammena māmi bāla samāgamo satang samāgamo hotu yāva nibbāna pattiyā. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.